and welcome to another Shared Screens review. Joining me to talk all things Tales of Kenzera. Is it Zhao?
Yes.
Okay. Alec Bobko, part of Shared Screens. Hello. How you doing?
Hello. Doing well today.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have a fine time talking about this fine game. So we won't get into that. Before we get into anything, Alec, I do want to read the Steam description for Tales of Kenzera because
sure.
the Steam description is fucking awesome. Listen to this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wield the dance of the shaman. Reclaim your father's spirit. Brave the beautiful and treacherous lands of Kenzera with the god of death in Tales of Kenzera Zhao, a Metroidvania-style adventure crafted by Surgeon Studios. A grieving boy begins to read a Bantu tale written by his late father. Adventure into the beautiful and treacherous lands of Kenzera as Zhao, a young shaman who bargains with the god of death to bring his Baba back from darkness. The fuck? With your cosmic powers and untried courage, you advance into unknown mythological lands. Once bursting with life, Kenzera is now rife with lost ancestral spirits. As Zhao advances toward his goal, three mighty beings lie in wait, fearsome in their strength, yet somehow strangely familiar. Will you embrace the dance of the shaman? That is the coolest thing I've ever heard,
It's
dude.
really cool, yeah.
It's really cool.
The premise of this game is, I think, what brought a lot of people got a lot of people interested in this because it was shown off at Game Awards.
Like the premise and the color palette, I think there's a lot of heavy lifting, and I know that's such a weird thing to say, but it's just so true for this title.
Very visually stimulating.
100%. It looks great. I think it in terms of performance, once you get used to it, it runs adequately. I didn't have any glaring performance issues. It was just once I had to kind of get used to how things felt for a bit and then kind of go from there. But overall, Alec, just your surface level thoughts of this non-scored review. What did you think of Tales of Kenzera?
Yeah, so it's one of those games that I can tell there's something there. I want to like this game so much, but there's just aspects of it, mainly the combat, that it just feels like they just ramp up the difficulty. Like when you're just going through the world, you get an enemy here, enemy there, it's fine. An enemy, you're mixing your sun and moon powers.
All cool.
All really cool powers, and it's just using them and interchanging them. It was really cool when you get that flow down.
Mm-hmm.
But
I agree.
Man, the later you get into the game, they just have some combat arenas that are just complete BS. We can get into this.
Oh, when you say later in the game, do you mean Act 3 or late Act 2 or
I'd say later into Act 2 and then into Act 3. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I just dipped my toe because I didn't even finish Act 2 for the record. I want that on the record. I got to the middle or the end-ish of Act 2, and I got to an arena of sorts where you're kind of the walls go up, and which I do like. I like that as a premise going into that combat encounter. But and I did at this point. I felt like I finally had it. I felt like I finally understood how to mix and match my powers and use them well, and I had all my skills, and it felt good. But then, which we'll get into, but there was just something that I was like, I just don't want to play this, man. But continue.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing though is in some of those later combat arenas, that's the best way I can describe them.
Mm-hmm.
They have spikes or insta death at the bottom of them, so it's you make a wrong step or an enemy knocks you back and you fall down into them, and you have to start the entire thing over. There's no checkpoints. That's honestly one of my biggest pet peeves with this game is the checkpointing is just rough.
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you. It's
and by
one of those
checkpointing,
things,
I mean the lack thereof, because you're basically you die, you just basically have to do the entire thing over.
I will say that I don't think the entire thing is usually that long, but it's usually somewhat difficult to get through said segment.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's they're not too long. Oh, I can't believe you did that. It's not like.
But when you're going through 3 or 4 waves of enemies and you're on wave 4 and you have one enemy left and it just stun lock you in the enemy, because that's what happened to me a couple times. Is that enemies, the animation to get back up, that it was perfectly timed with where the enemy could hit you over and over. So I'm just they got me in a corner and I'm just okay, well, I'm dead now.
Yeah, I get that. I just think the parts of it for me, because you brought up the like the insta kill things, right?
Mhm.
What purpose does that serve? Having anything that is an insta kill, because I don't see anything that it would serve besides forcing you to get good with momentum or like the movement.
Right.
Like I just don't see like a use case for even including those in the game.
Yeah, it's just I think it's just there to make it more challenging, is my thought, because
Yeah,
it's a shorter game. It's not like, I haven't
correct.
beaten it. I only got through about uh maybe towards the beginning or midway through Act 3,
Mhm.
uh and I've heard people that say that had beat the game. It's only about 10 hours long, so it's
Yeah,
just something to maybe pad out the timing.
yeah. And if that is the case, and of course you and I have no idea how game dev works and all that,
Mhm.
but like it's just that seems like a cop out. Like if I just don't see a genuine use case for the insta kill things, because like
Yeah.
when I played a similar like a good Metrovania this year, and Metrovanias aren't normally my cup of tea, but I
Mhm.
played Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown right this year, and that game is incredible. And the insta kill things, I feel like they made sense because they were always included with like the super hard things to do. Like you never
Right.
found those pretty much anywhere else unless you literally just like forgot to jump. Like the insta kill environments in that was like it felt like on me.
Certain spots, yeah.
Yes, it felt like on me rather
Not
than just why is this here?
everywhere
Yeah.
in
And
like
they're
it is in
not
this game.
everywhere in Kenzera Zao, but they are. I just don't like I said. I don't feel like they're thoughtfully placed either. They're just kind of there.
Well, even because like as biggest thing with Metroidvania, like in Metroid games, like yeah, you have your like lava pits or your acid pits, but they just do damage. They don't insta kill you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's
I
like
kind of wish, like, even if it put me down to like one hit, like I think that would be better. Like, put me
right,
down to
yeah.
like make my health bar go like completely gone, and then like force me to heal or deal with
Hmm.
it or whatever. But like, don't kill me because I just don't feel like that. I don't feel like it helped the game at all.
I'm
Anyway.
guessing my thought actually now thinking about it because they have some of those like challenge rooms where you can get
Mhm.
the trinkets, I think is what they're called.
There's a lot of different things in here, but yeah, there's like the trinkets. There's the trinkets are what gives you the boons, right? And then
Yeah.
there's like other items you can find as well. I thought I wrote down the terminology. I did not. Oops.
Um, but the basically to get those trinkets, you have to do these challenge rooms, and
Mhm.
I'm almost wondering if they wanted this like the spikes in those to be insta death kind of the thing, but they
Sure.
couldn't find a way to make others not insta death. So basically, that was just one of those things that they just kind of make it universal.
Yeah, I don't know because they definitely pop up in places that like I don't see a use case for. But
Mhm.
that's just me.
I
So
guess
if
my
we're
other
go ahead.
quick big thing is just everybody knows, being a Metroidvania,
Mhm.
you look at
Oh,
the map a lot.
I knew you were gonna bring this up.
So I have a couple gripes with the map. My
Qualms.
big qualms, gripes, whatever you want to call them. So my biggest one is like, Metroidvania, you're exploring, you don't know where you're going, kind of a thing. So the thing I did not like about the map in this game, and this is actually about the map itself, is that you get into an area and it basically lights up the entire area. Not
Mm,
like most other Metroidvania games where you're like, you can see your little icon and it's like the map's like grayed out so you can tell where you've been, where you haven't been.
right.
So I had a point in this game where you basically go down and you have to get two different keys, and you go down an elevator and you have to go left or right.
Mhm,
I went left. I went
mhm,
all the way through this path, all the way through there, nothing at the end. So I had to
mhm,
track all my way back, all the way
mhm.
back to the elevator, and then go left or to the right. Got the first key. And like, oh, okay, now it's time to go with the other one. It's like, okay, well, where is it? Because there was nothing the other way. So even though it is a Metroidvania, it's actually more of a linear game.
Yeah, I completely agree with the sentiment. The what happened to me in a similar vein. I have the map is not as helpful as it needs to be. That's one of my notes.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, when you go into an area, it just kind of unlocks most of the area for you, and you're like, I don't. What the hell? What happened to me is I did this. I don't know if it was that exact thing, but it was one where you had branching places to
Hmm.
choose from to go in a certain zone, right? And I had left and came back the following day. And I had no idea where I had been previously because there's no way to
Yeah.
track that. And I
Yep.
couldn't remember. So I literally just had to retrack the entire thing.
Yep.
And since it was a game that, and this is not something I would say is like a noticeable, like, negative, but a lot of it looks the same when you're in a zone. Like there's not a lot
Hmm.
of identifying things to like, I've been here or I haven't been here. But there was just no way for me to tell where I
Yep.
had already been. There are. if you're lucky, the area where you go, there'll be like a little icon of like a workbench or whatever, or a
Yeah.
there's a reflection places where you can gain more health and like some. But I think those things will
Hmm.
show up on the map. But
Yeah, like
like,
fast travel points, I think is.
yes, there's that as well. And there's something else, but I can't remember. Regardless, when you're looking at the map, there are certain things that will pop up, and I think they are only there if you have discovered them. So like
Yep.
that kind of helps, but it's like if the area you went to just doesn't have one of those, you're kind of just out of luck on knowing where you've
Yeah.
been. So the map was a huge thing, and
And
as someone who doesn't play Metroidvanias that much, I didn't know if this was normal, but it really irked me. So
oh yeah. The other thing too is, in Metroidvanias, you look at the map a lot. So
mhm.
the other thing, every single time you came out of the map, I don't know if you had this issue, but
Oh yeah,
the dead
yep,
stick issue.
yep, yep. Every time you
So
come out on the map, like if you were going left and you were like holding left to go into the map and you let go and you move on the map. If you come back and you do your first input to continue going left or jump or whatever, it just will not work.
yep,
Yep. For a solid half a second every
yep,
time. And in the
every
grand
single
scheme of
time.
things, once you learn that, it's not that big of a deal, but it's still just really odd, right?
I still, yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those, like, I still never quite got over it because every single time I'm just like, okay, I want to go this way. So I just go and it's like, oh
hmm
crap,
I
let
just got
go.
used to
Gonna,
it. Like in the grand scheme of things, like if that was one of the only issues we had, probably wouldn't have even mentioned it. It's like cool, who cares?
mhm.
But yeah, it's that does not tear the game down in my opinion. But
No.
yes, it was an issue where it's just like, why is this happening?
Well,
This is such an odd
honestly,
thing.
with me, with my those two issues I had with the map of
Hmm.
it, one just not being super helpful, and then the other with that glitch of the dead stick. It's like
It's just
towards the
frustrating.
end of Act Two and beginning of Act Three, I was barely even using the map because it was. I mean, in my mind, it became less of a Metroidvania and more of a linear game. So I'm just kind of
Right.
following the paths.
There's also the beginning of me for like a glitch, which just never happened again. But for whatever reason, when I booted up the game, my double jump just didn't exist. So there was
Oh
a
yeah, I
me
remember that part.
trying to platform a very specific area where there's like it's at the beginning, Alec, where you have to like freeze the water. You have to like
Oh,
jump
gotcha.
and like double jump. Try doing that without a double jump, Alec. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Somehow I managed to do most of it. Just like, what is happening? There's no way this is how this is supposed to be. It wasn't. But
Hmm.
I just say, well, you don't say it auto saves pretty often, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I just closed it out and then opened it back up, and I magically had a double jump, and I'm like, where has this been? Very, very helpful, that double jump. Let me tell you, double jump,
Oh yeah.
great, feels good.
Yep.
Double jump feels good once it works. But like I said, it only happened once. It wasn't a big deal. Okay, so getting into like the crux of the combat, there you have your normal light, heavy dash, right? The
Hmm.
dash felt good. The
Yep.
light, the heavy, that all felt fine. But you brought up you have like the sun and the moon powers. Those are like different masks that you're switching between. I don't know if you
Yep.
mentioned that. That's really really cool. And then those masks have cooldowns. One you get an ability early on where you can sort of like time when you use the ability again, and it will fill up. It will basically cut your cooldown in like one third of what it's supposed to be.
Oh
And
right, like the Gears of War
yeah,
reload kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. And that's very helpful. But when you're switching back and forth between these different masks, once you get the hang of it, like you kind of said, once you hit that flow state, it does feel good. I do think
Hmm.
there, like you said, there was something there, and maybe if I continued on, but like there's just too much stopping me with this game to continue playing. But there is something there to the combat. I
Yeah,
will give it that. The traversal is just very frustrating, but
yeah. For me, I really was digging the combat.
mhm,
Just because, like, especially when you get to some of the later parts, the later ones where you have like land combatants and flying ones, where
mhm,
you're switching between because like the sun,
yeah,
if you or just like people that haven't played this game or
mhm,
know anything about it, the sun is like your melee focus. So you see
mhm,
you got your basically like two swords, and then the moon
mhm,
is like your longer range.
mhm,
So it was cool being able to like, okay, I'm gonna get a few swipes in on this guy, back up, dash away, switch to the moon, and then get a couple
mhm.
shots off on the little pterodactyl monster thingies.
100%. And you can switch like bam, bam. Like if you want to
Yeah.
go moon, sun, moon, you can do that.
Yep.
And it does feel right. It doesn't lag. Like it's good. It feels the masks well done. Like I
Yeah.
think the combat there was definitely something there that they
Because
nailed.
one of my favorite combos that I like doing was
Mhm,
because you get a power later in the game where, or I'm gonna say not, it's still in Act One, but a little later into it where you can freeze things.
mhm,
Um, so there's a flying enemy in Act Two.
mhm,
Um, that I always like to do. I would freeze them and then switch to sun, and then get swipes and basically get their health
Mhm,
down, and
mhm.
because they're so annoying to try and hit take down because they deal
Sure,
poison damage. They like put little
sure.
pools of acid down
Mhm. And some of the I would say most of the enemies, I actually don't know if it's all of them, but at least most of them, they will have a color to their health bar, and that tells you, like,
in
which
certain
one will, like
instances. Yes,
yeah, will break their guard essentially,
yeah,
and then
it's
they
almost
have,
like
like,
a
a normal health
shield.
bar. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I like that too. Like,
Hmm.
not only does it feel good, you're also forcing me in a good way to, like, to actually utilize and switch. So, like, if I
Yep.
didn't have that down by now, this would help me do that. So I did like that.
Hmm.
And then the down triangle when with the sun mask, I use
Oh
that a
yeah.
lot because the enemies will
Yep.
kind of like chase you. So and you kind of get used to how enemies will move, and
Hmm.
they kind of move the same way for each type. They have their own like way of moving, but you can kind of like if I go down here and then jump back up, he's going to be down here, and the other one's just going to run up. So then you can jump above them, do down triangle, and it does feel good. Like again, the combat is good. That's not the issue
There's
here.
something there. Yeah.
There's audio cues for bigger combos with
Yeah. The sun.
the sun mask. Yep, I like that. I usually just kind of panic and smash it anyway, but like either way,
Yeah, it's not necessarily a longer combo, but it basically lets you do more damage if you
more
time it with a
damage.
little
Yep.
chime. Yeah.
You get a longer combo with just like upgrading your stuff, I believe.
Yes.
So
Yep.
there are skills you can upgrade, and I think the skills. If you get a third mask, I don't know about that, but you do get more skills for like the moon mask and more skills for
Hmm.
the sun mask. I did say it feels good, not great. I would actually change that. The combat itself does feel pretty great, I would say.
Yeah.
Trinkets, like you mentioned, very similar to, and I'm just this is the only matchup any I played. Well, not the only one, but the only one I liked. The Prince of Persia has the things where you can like add a boon that like
Hmm.
you gain more. I don't know, like energy or whatever it's called in this game once you take damage. That's one I had on because I was always taking a lot of
Yep.
damage, so
I had that.
I use that as
Yep.
well.
I originally
Um,
had the one that I think it's from the first challenge room where it's basically like enemies take more damage when they hit into other enemies or hit up against a wall.
I don't
But
think I ever got that one.
yeah,
I
that was
must
the
have skipped
first
that.
challenge room. But
Oops.
yeah,
I might not have used it either,
but
oh,
I eventually
was it the one where, like, if you keep them in the air?
no,
'Cause oh, well.
no, there's
That was I think that was
there's
the first one I got. Anyway.
yeah, no, this or because this one like you got that one like when you got to the first workbench.
Uh,
This one, the one that I was talking about, you get from doing like the first challenge room where you have to
I
like
wonder
go
if I
through a
just
bunch of
didn't do it.
spikes. Oh, don't worry, it's very challenging. Like it's because it's a lot of like timing your jumps and your
You
dives,
know,
and
I wonder if I just skipped it because early on my double jump didn't work. So I
that could
wonder if I
be.
just said, "Nope,"
Yeah,
and just like, not a chance."
yeah.
Um,
But I
yeah.
ended up switching to the one that you use too because there's later in like the couple of boss fights and or honestly maybe not a boss fight, but like the chain where you're doing going up an elevator fighting a bunch of enemies and then a
Mhm,
boss fight.
mhm,
It's like yeah, no, I need to be healing more
mhm.
often.
Yeah, I'm just clumsy, and early on, like, once I got there,
Yep.
I was better, and maybe once if I would've kept playing, I maybe would've changed it because I wasn't taking as much damage, like, because you do catch on pretty quickly, I would say.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think early on, once you're still learning everything, it's a great thing to have on. And we mentioned that like you would die a lot at these insta kill things. The one good thing about that is the respawn is like instantaneous. Like you
Oh yeah,
respawn
it's
pretty damn
quick.
quick, which is always like really hard, not hard thing to do, but like it makes a huge difference for me. Like
Oh
if
yeah,
this is a game where you're gonna die a lot, having that
and see a
quick
loading screen.
exactly having that quick respawn genuinely changes like honestly if I'm gonna stick with this game or not. Like
Mhm.
if you're gonna make me die a lot, like don't punish me for doing that if your game is designed for that to happen for that to happen.
Mhm.
I mentioned reflecting earlier. You can reflect at these like shrines of sorts, and that's how you gain more health.
Mhm.
You're more max health. Let's see. We mentioned the dead stick.
Yeah,
I did want to because you played Prince of Persia as well, right?
I did not.
You didn't. You need to. You
I
really
oh
really
yeah,
need to.
no, that's something that this yeah. It's what I've heard is like in a year where we got such a great game as Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Yep.
It's like it's sad to see a game like this. It's like
Mhm.
not sad, but you know what I mean. It's like this that game just did it so well.
Yeah. It's sad is the right word. It's more like why did Prince of Persia have to come out the same year as this one? Because
Exactly.
it
Yes.
just
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
makes it just kind of pales in
A
comparison. It's
sad
just the truth.
situation for it, not
It's just
necessarily.
the truth, the
Yeah.
hard truth on that one.
Yeah.
You mentioned the boss fights. Boss fights are awesome. I only had one generic or one genuine boss fight where I think you
Mhm.
fight like a dragon, right? Like
Yeah,
in Act One,
dragon,
right?
big hawk kind of thing.
And it
Yeah.
was awesome. I like that a
It was really
lot.
cool. Yeah.
Did it take me a while to figure out how to damage it? Yes, but once I
Yeah.
got it, I was good. So I when you okay when I go into a boss fight for whatever reason, my brain kind of clicks. I'm like, it's okay if I struggle to understand this language at first.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I'm okay with dying 10 to 15 times if it means I'm genuinely learning how to kill this
Mhm.
guy, especially with that quick respawn, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the boss fight,
Also,
the one I played, really
yep.
liked it. That was good.
I really like the first one was cool, but I liked what they did, kind of like how they kind of change it up on you for the Act 2 boss. I won't spoil it for anybody, but it was just cool because you think like kind of the same way like the first one kind of like swoops in and it's like, okay, you're ready for this big fight. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh nope, something this is completely different.
100%, 100%. I can see that happening too because I did see because I looked up a little bit just to see what the next boss fight looks like. Pretty cool,
Mhm.
pretty cool. Into that.
Yeah.
So, I think a huge part of this, as we like sort of wrap up gameplay, um, there's a little game called Celeste, right? And again, not the same
Oh
game,
yeah.
not a different genre entirely. I feel like the gameplay of that completely just complements and supports the narrative,
Oh
and I
yeah.
really feel like that's kind of what this game was going for,
I
and
can
I
see it. Yeah.
don't think they succeed at that. I don't think it's bad. I
Mhm.
think the narrative is good. The narrative is good. I think. I just
Oh
don't
yeah.
think the gameplay complements that like they thought it would. Like the thing they
See,
were going for. I feel like they just kind of let that one go a little bit. So
and see
do
that's
do you
part of
agree?
I agree with yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's part of the narrative was kind of what was keeping me going through that.
100%.
And then yeah, I just hit a wall in Act 3 with one of those combat arenas. It's like, nope, I'm done.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm totally with you. So so that's all my gameplay. I think in terms of like overall, it's like an adequate Metroidvania with promise, but lacks that it factor in the complete package. And by the complete package, I mean like
Mhm.
complements of the narrative and that it factor in the combat. Like even though I think the
Mhm.
combat was sound and good, I don't think it was like super special. And I know that's harsh to say, but I just think like, yep, it did the thing and it's good. It's
It's
just
a
it wasn't
game.
any. Yeah.
Sorry, but also I'll say shout out to the I don't know if this is on your list of things to bring up, but the voice acting I thought was really
Oh
well
yeah,
done.
it's not on my list, but the yeah. See, when it comes to when it's a music or VO or anything like that, when I don't mention it, it's usually because it was pretty good. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
it's, I usually only notice it when you have that oh my god scene or if it's really bad, right?
Mhm.
And that's I didn't have any of those moments, but like clearly it was more than serviceable. So good
Yeah, I was
job
really
on the
enjoying
VO.
it because you mainly have Zhao and then the God of
Mhm.
Death. I'm
Mhm.
blanking on his name right now. But those
Kaminga or something like that.
something like that. But it was I really liked their back and forths all the time. Like they both,
Kalunga.
Kalunga,
Sorry,
yes. And yeah, I love their back and forths and you could tell like just like the passion that
it's in
they
my notes.
had. Um it really showed through
Yeah,
in their
the
conversations and
relationship
dialogue.
between Zhao and Kalunga is like probably like the shining thing that I have so far because like Kalunga
Mhm.
is kind of like explaining like how things are supposed to be done traditionally, and he's like, you need to shut up. Like there's no way that's gonna work in this situation. You're literally just being like a
Yep.
detriment right now. Like you need to open your eyes and realize what's happening in front of you, and they have that back and forth like the entire time, and it's never forced. It always feels genuine. Like the writing
Mhm.
and the VO there is good. I agree. The one
Although there
note I
is one
have
there I'll say there in Act 2, there's not maybe not quite Atreus level God of War 2018, but it's pretty close.
there's like a little sprinkle of that I think where it's like you need to like stop. He's like stop. You can't do this. I'm not listening
Mhm.
anymore. What was I gonna say? Oh, in terms because I section this off between gameplay and then like aesthetic and then the narrative. The one aesthetic thing that we haven't touched on is like, and we kind of talked about it when I read the description. It was like shaman shit is really cool. Like
Yeah.
just the aesthetic of shamans is really 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 cool.
Yeah, because you get the
Um,
little story at the shrines where you get new powers. They
yeah.
kind of tell you little stories about like the backstory behind the power.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
There's one of them
100%.
where it doesn't tell you the backstory. It's like, oh, I want to get backstory.
That was my favorite part,
You
and
can
they're
go
not too
into the
long either.
codex
They're pretty
and
short.
read it, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, oh, it was cool having the God of Death tell me about him.
Mhm. So going into like the narrative part of this, like trying to save your baba, right? You're like I'm,
Mhm.
and I the word I put for this is like I love, and I'm a sucker. I've said this on content. I'm a sucker for like punishing, kind of like gripping
Mhm.
narratives, and I love the desperation that Zuberi at the beginning. I think it's his
Yes.
name. I could feel how he's like, I'm taking on the three gods of like death or whatever to
Mhm.
get my dad. Like I love the desperation
Yep.
in that. Like he's just like, I'm going for broke here. I don't care what tradition says. Like I'm gonna
Yep.
save my dad. Don't care. I can relate to that. So like it's just one of those things where like
Mhm.
that really resonated with me. So I enjoyed that a lot. It also gives you a narrative reason to take down enemies. It says really early on, like these spirits are like they once you defeat them, they're able to go and rest. Like they're not evil spirits. They're just like out of
Mhm.
control in this realm. They say that pretty
Yep.
early on. It's like a throwaway line, but I eat that shit up. So it didn't make me feel bad for destroying
Mhm.
these enemies. You know. So and like you said before, the relationship between Kalunga and Zhao, really good. Like that's
Yep.
probably the shining thing of this game, I would say. Coupled with the combat, really good. And I mentioned this a little bit before, where like the similar approach to how Celeste works with like the complementary narrative and the gameplay. It said, I do feel like the game is teaching you lessons to live by, but simply never felt that to the degree that the dev intended. So like I see
Mhm.
what they're going for, and I think it's serviceable in that, but it's just like
Yep.
it was missing that it factor. But so the narrative overall, the relationships, really good. VO, really good. But I think what they were going for as this complete package, like I brought up before, I just think it's lacking a little bit there.
Mhm.
Overall, Alec, it's an adequate Metroidvania with promise, but lacks that it factor and complete package, like I said before. After
Mhm.
playing Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, it simply feels lesser, and I hate to like put that on an indie like that, but it's just the
Yep.
truth. There is something here, though. I want that on the record.
There
There
is.
is
I
something
do
here.
agree. There is something
There is
here.
something to the combat. And I'm going to ask you this, Alec. It's in my notes specifically for you. How does this feel in terms of quality? Not comparing the games for like how they're different, but just in terms of quality. How does this compare to Penny's Big Breakaway, another game this year?
Honestly, I do think that's
I
tough.
exactly. I knew I'd get you. Are they
I think
similar in like what they're going for and in what
yeah,
the level that they achieve it? And
in terms of being both being the studio's first game, I do think they're very similar because like we're both kind of said like there's something there for them. Like they didn't quite hit the nail on the head, but
mhm.
man, they were damn close.
It makes
So
you more excited for whatever they make next, right?
yes.
If they take in the feedback or maybe even like an update for said thing, right? If they
Mhm.
genuinely fix that up or find that it factor and like because the
Yeah.
combat really good, the relationship really good, and like the aesthetic really good. It's just that there are
Mhm.
certain things about this that as a complete package,
Like
it didn't all come
man,
together with a nice bow.
fixing the map would just make this game so
Ah,
much better.
if you
So
honestly
much
take
better.
if you fix the map and take out that dead stick and then
Yep.
actually, you know what? I think that's it. I think the game would have went up like one
Honestly,
point
yeah.
if I were to score it. But yeah, because the map like it just inflicts a lot of hardship for no reason, just because
Yeah.
like the map does not need to do that.
Like I said,
So
the for if you're going to be a Metroidvania, like the map is like one of the things players look at the most in the game.
100%,
So
100%, yeah. And I learned it the hard way because playing Prince of Persia this year, like when I was in the midst of it, I was like, oh my god, this is so daunting. When you see the whole map and like
oh
what you
yeah.
haven't explored in that, but like once I played more, I was like, "Ooh, I'm so grateful for this map." It's still daunting, don't get me
Oh yeah.
wrong, but it's just one of those things where like, "Oh, thank God this map
You can
shows
at
me
least see
literally
where you've
everywhere I've been." So,
yes, everywhere you've been, everywhere you haven't. So it's like,
mhm,
oh, hey,
mhm,
there's this little like nook over here that I didn't go
mhm,
in. Maybe there's
mhm,
something
mhm,
there.
100%. So, yeah, Alec, any final thoughts on Tales of Kenzera Zao? A promising game that just kind of misses that it factor.
Yeah. Um honestly, yeah, it's like I think you wrapped it up really pretty nicely. Like
Mhm,
it's there's something here. Like
mhm.
if you have PlayStation Plus Extra, I would say give this game a shot
Mhm.
if you're looking for something to play right now. Just
If you're into
because,
Metroidvanias, you will probably like this game.
yeah, or even just kind of like platformer action games, like
Mhm,
because like I said, like the Metroidvania elements are very light in this game.
mhm.
So
Yep.
if you're more into more kind of action platformer kind of things, like I think you enjoy this one. Like getting into that flow state between the sun combat and the moon combat and
Really good.
intermixing them, like it's
Really good.
really good. And from what I could tell of the story, it's really doing well. So
Yeah.
or really interesting me. So
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, at worst Like the game in pretty much all aspects is serviceable. It's just
Yeah.
like, yep, this is an adequate video game. Like I never played anything and went like, this is bad. This is a bad video game. I
Yep.
never felt that. It's just a little more polished. Honestly, okay, so sometimes you play a game, right, Alec, and you're like, if they
Mhm.
just fix this one or two things, it'd be great, but they never do that. This one
Yep.
honestly feels likely. Like if they
I could
that
see
they
it,
can
yeah.
fix the map and they can fix the dead stick. Like I can see a patch. I really can. And
And
I
maybe like take away the insta death, or let me give an option for that at least.
sure, just a little toggle, maybe the insta death. Like put like what I said, but just makes your health bar literally empty, so you're at one hit instead
Mm,
of, or just place them a little bit better or whatever. You know what I
yeah.
mean? But yeah, play with that a little bit. But honestly, if
It's
they
minor
left
things like
correct, if they left the insta death stuff, but just fixed the map and the dead stick, I think that's a remarkable improvement.
yep.
But that's just me. So those are our thoughts on Tales of Kenzera Zao, a game that's available on PlayStation, Switch. I don't
I'm
remember
not
what
sure
the
about Switch. I know Xbox, PC, and PlayStation.
okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna look up the platforms 1 second. Platform.
But yeah, it is on like I said earlier, it is on PlayStation Plus Extra, not just
Mhm.
the monthly stuff. So, but if you do have it on there, give it a shot. I enjoyed it. Like, and then even if you don't have that, it's only like $20.
I was
So
just gonna say, and it's priced at $20. I did pay for it because I felt like I just wanted to support it.
mhm.
And initially, when I went to play it, it wasn't available yet, so I was like, "Fuck it,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna buy it anyway."
yeah, I was a
But
little worried, not worried, but it took
I,
a little longer for it to come to
uh,
PlayStation Plus.
yeah, when they roll that out, it's always like they try to do the perfect time for all time zones, and
Right.
it's a whole thing. But it is available on Nintendo Switch,
Oh, nice.
so yep,
So
twenty
pretty much
bucks.
everywhere.
And in terms of the price, adequately priced. Like I think
Yep.
that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
a fair price for the product. So there you have it. That's been our review, or well, our non-scored review of Tales of Kenzera. So thank you for watching. I'm gonna wave goodbye to the camera. Goodbye.